Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
Hey there, everybody, it's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. I know it says Friday Night Lights on a Saturday morning, but hey, we're still talking DFS. We're talking week 3. Willie Walls, Odell Blocker, the great Swame. Are we worried about a little bad weather going on in your neck of the woods, like a little tropical storm happening in the DC area there, Willie?
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. It's coming down. It's coming down now. Looking outside, but yeah, listen. A couple of my decisions is going to be based on the weather conditions. You know, I'm looking at that. You know, I mean, you know, I had a lot of interest in the Ravens and Buffalo stuff, but I'm like, ooh, you know, with this weather, we just got to see. I mean, I just think, you know, anybody that if you are worth your salt, I mean, don't think weather doesn't affect things, because it makes things sloppy and Lamar Jackson was going to be, you know, one of my guys, but you know, I'm putting a lot of people in the back burner now, so we'll see.
So I mean, you feel the same way about weather? I've actually had good luck with bad weather. Like, people don't want to play bad weather games, and I'll play it, and then you get a low ownership.
I think it's a little bit of a difference between bad weather and then like a tropical storm. And so, you know, with the tropical, the concern here is both, you know, the potential for them to move a game if it's just, you know, unplayable. And then I think if the field is kind of saturated, like Willie's describing, you know, hours and hours of rain, it just makes for, you know, handling the ball, folks are sliding around, and we just don't really get a good game. So, you know, with you, Doc, that you know, sometimes when folks are running away, it's some opportunity there. But I don't know if I like tropical storm, however you say this, Ophelia, whatever it is.
All right, you guys get tropical storms. We get hurricanes where I live, all right? So all right, so does that mean, because Willie, I'm with you, I would have played Lamar Jackson. I mean, he was going to be my number one quarterback of the week. Are you still playing him? If you had 20 teams, how many would have Lamar and a Ravens stack in there?
Maybe one now, you know. So I'm like I said, this is what I do know about the Ravens. If they find a lead and if it's a comfortable lead, I know what they're doing. They shutting that thing down and they're going to run that ball, and, you know, you're not going to get your full value for what you need from Lamar. He already had enough struggles anyway without it. But now, you know, with the new, you know, you combine the new offense with the storm. I'm not saying, listen, if the weather, like if I look and the weather's going to be clear and most of the storms are going to be cleared out, I will have, you know, because I know that they got the field covered now. I know that, you know, if they worth their salt, but I'm just saying, I just don't like the sloppy game. Not the way, if it's coming down like it was coming down just a minutes ago, I'm not going to be paying all that money for the quarterback for him to take the snap and the ball on the ground, and then the other team get the ball and he lose me 2 damn points, you know. And I'm like, God, man, what the hell, you know? And then this is a sloppy game. Oh my God! Now my damn receiver fumbling that. Oh man, damn, man, just keep fumbling the ball, you know. And I'm gonna be mad. And that other game gonna be ding 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 ding, you know, because whatever, points here, points there, and I ain't getting jack.
I think watching a game with Willie has to be like one of the best events ever, right? I mean, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be worth like a prize. I mean, I don't know. All right, Swami, talk to me about Buffalo and Washington there. Josh Allen, dude played at Wyoming. If anybody knows bad weather, it's Josh Allen. He plays in Buffalo. Does it bother you playing him at all tomorrow?
I don't think Josh Allen would be the primary concern. It would be the jokers on the other end of the jokers who has to catch the ball and the jokers who had to help Josh Allen along the way. I just don't know if you want to play him in this game. Also, the Washington defense, albeit they didn't necessarily play the best offenses in the league, they have created a little bit of, you know, fantasy. You know, they've at least, I think, double-digit fantasy points through the first 2 games. They're playing at home. They're playing with a little momentum. You know, sometimes I was telling Willie, even when You're not necessarily playing great competition. When you win, and you develop a little momentum. So there's a lot of reasons, with this weather where I might want to avoid it. Now, before then, I definitely had a lot more interest. But if they're calling, for a lot of rain in D.C., I don't like it.
All right, last question about the weather. Do we like the Commanders' defense because it's super cheap in a bad weather spot? Is that the play of the week?
What is their price?
Aren't they like $2,400 or something like that?
Yeah. Listen, so this is the difference in Buffalo this year. That's why I really, I might be saying one thing now, and then if the weather clears, then I have a different perspective of it. Let me give you the reason why. Number one is Allen this year. What I've noticed is he's only averaging 3.8 yards per completed air target, 3.8 compared to last year. It was 7.7. Okay. So they're running 12 personnel. Remember, they were mostly 11 personnel last year. They're running 12 personnel 50% of the time now this year. 12. The lowest, the next team close to is like 43%. So they have taken a different perspective where I'm not saying they're taking the ball out of his hand, but they're being more conservative, in what they do now. So if you combine that conservatism, along with, I can see the Commanders trying to they keep the ball away from them with Robinson and running the ball and, trying to take the ball away from them, then that's going to make me less interested in this game. Now, the one thing that I will say that you can't take advantage of, the Commanders play 61% zone, okay, which is the 29th in the league. They play some of the lowest zone. What does Mr. Diggs do against man-to-man?
Kills man-to-man.
He kills man-to-man, 2.11 yards per route. Kills man-to-man. And so, remember how we was on Davis last week because of the zone concept and all that kind of stuff? Because Davis stuff is weak, against that man-to-man. But, man, this is what Diggs, you play that with Diggs, I guarantee you, Diggs will hit the Commanders for, one of those 11, 150, 2 touchdown type of games. You know what I mean? So, so if the weather is decent, man, I love Diggs. I love Diggs in this game. Diggs will be a man of interest for me in this game.
All right. There's about 4 or 5 games that we really need to discuss because I think it's where most of the DFS goodness comes from and then everything else surrounds it. Swame, let's get to the first game, which I think has to be pieces, stacks, double stacks, you name it, Chargers, Vikings. You got a dome. You got a game that's at 54 points, probably going to go up before kickoff. You've got 2 good quarterbacks. You've got 2 decent running backs. You've got receivers galore. You got a tight end who's good as well. How do we get into this game and how do we really figure out how to play it the best way?
I think as far as kind of coming up with a game theory for the game, how I thought this game would go, and I'm not just talking about from the obvious kind of shootout perspective. It's saying, hey, who is likely to be involved on both sides based on, where the targets are going, who's getting the touches, and what do the teams look like through the first 2 weeks. So you got to like Keenan Allen. Walls always gives him the first 5 weeks before he said his hamstrings start to weaken, and whatever that means. Let me knock on wood. Keenan, I talked to Keenan. He says that to tell Willie that him and his hamstrings are good, and I believe Keenan. And so you know what Mr. Jefferson is going to do. I mean, he's moved on up. So it's without question.
Lock.
You can go ahead.
Lock.
It don't matter if it's a combination lock, a pad lock. It don't matter what kind of lock you got. Go ahead and put it on Mr. Jefferson because I think
every lineup, everyone.
He's a lock.
So you wouldn't do a Hawkinson, Addison, Fade, Jefferson anyway.
Jefferson first. Everybody else coming after.
I get what you're saying from a leverage perspective. It would make sense to do that. But the way that Mr. Jefferson is playing and what he's capable of doing, like his floor is higher than everybody else's ceiling on the doggone slate, with maybe the exception of Allen. So that's the only challenge that you run into. If he starts to go off, then those guys likely aren't going to necessarily, give you what you need, and you're automatically going to be out of the Justin Jefferson sweepstakes. But Doc, true enough, I think you can do that. I think you can take a chance on playing what I would say the second receivers, Mike Williams, maybe Addison. I think it's a leverage play that you can do there. I think you could also go another way and maybe play, say, Kelly against Jefferson, right? If you just wanted to kind of pick a piece or a way to go, just something along those lines, you could probably get creative with it. But I wouldn't try to get too cute in this one. I think I'm with Willie. I'm going to go ahead and hit the lock button.
Willie, this feels to me like it's super chalky, but good chalky. But like Mike Williams and Jefferson might be in 45% of lineups. I mean, it could be that ugly. How do we get different? Because we're not winning $1 million if I play Williams and Jefferson, because me and 600,000 of my closest friends are going to do the same thing.
So, but see, this is how you get different. Number one is most people are going to play Kirk Cousins with the stack. You go higher, you go with Herbert, $600 more, less ownership, and your stack looks different. Okay. Now let me explain let me explain why we like. So see, sometimes we got to know why. Sometimes, you got to get different in the other games where you might not play the quarterbacks. We could play a Ryder in the Atlanta game, who I think is very interesting. We will have a conversation about, a little bit later. I know. Keep your face like that, but he's a man of interest for me this week. That's one of my guys, a little man of interest. Just keep that in mind. But anyway, so this is what the Vikings are doing. 90% of the Vikings yardage is through passing. Mr. Jefferson or Captain Jefferson, Major Jefferson, Colonel Jefferson. I mean, is really, even though he's dominating, he is 12 months pregnant for that touchdown. He has not got a touchdown yet.
Kevin O'Connell has said multiple times this week, we have to run the ball more. We're passing too much. Now, I'm with you on Jefferson being due, right? He is, very due for a touchdown.
But
is Alexander Madison sneaky?
Yeah, that will be a leverage play. He's sneaky and could be stinky. He could be either one of them. So it's either one that you want to say, okay? Because I hear what you're saying. I get it, But don't you mention Jefferson and that Alexander Assis, and then you got they just got the guy from the Rams up there with him.
He's not playing this week. Akers is not playing this week.
I'm just saying he could be stinky. He still could be stinky. I hear what you're saying, but the point I'm making to you is the Chargers are allowing a league high 9 yards per passing play. Let me tell you why they're going to pass. The Chargers have allowed a league high 21 plays over 15 yards. League high 21 over 15. Then okay. Oh, you want more? They allow their opponents 41.9 yards per drive. I mean, listen. Their defense stinks. The coach stinks. Their whole defense, they paid all this money and they stink. So I'm just telling you right now, you don't play Jefferson. I'm playing Mr. Jefferson. I'm going to get my 180 yards, my 2 touchdowns. You'll be mad and get my little 12 catches and get my little 30. What do we like, Doc? We like people that get over 30 plus points. Am I right or wrong? That's what we talked about.
Totally right.
Right. Don't overthink this. You play Mr. Jefferson. Everybody, listen to me. Look at me. Look at me. Can you see me? Play Jefferson. He's due. He's 12 months pregnant. He's going to get a touchdown this time. Play Mr. Jefferson. I'm telling you, they might have to put 2 things on him to cover stuff up because they're going to have hard-ons when they play these Chargers because they stink. Defensively, they stink. It's going to be a wonderful game. You could be different. Now, I agree with Swame. When you say, well, San Diego, And I'm gonna tell you now. Normally, I'm you know I love Keenan Allen, but this week, for some reason, Mike Williams had 32% of the share against zone, that they play mostly zone this week. There's a little change in something going on. I think Mike Williams is brewing. I think he's about to explode. I think Mike now, I love Keenan Allen. I'm going to have my shares of Keenan. But, man, I love Mike Williams this week. He's my favorite receiver. Mike Williams, my favorite receiver for that team. Over Keenan. And normally I would play Keenan. But Mike Williams, that was eye-opening to me to see he got 32%. Because his normal average against zone is 18%.
So how are we getting different then? So the only way you're getting different is playing Herbert, Williams, and Jefferson? That's not different, Swami.
No.
Swami, that's not different.
Willie, let me take this one for Alex. I got this one for 200. Doc, different doesn't mean all 9 players or all 8 players. Different can mean 1 player, 2 players, or it can mean your primary stack, or it can mean a secondary stack. So I don't have to be different by avoiding, say, the best player on the board. I can take a free square, which is typically a player that's coming in with some good value, or I could take a lock player who's somebody who's just got a dream matchup and has got the ceiling that we're looking for that you're going to need to be able to take down a tournament. So the way that you can still get different is the leverage plays that we talked about. Even some of the guys you talked about, if you bring in KJ Osborne into this mix, if you brought in Kelly, if you did a full stack, if you went and just took a piece of this game, meaning Jefferson from one side and Mike Williams from the other one, and then went another place with your primary stack. So it's ways to get different. There's ways to still have, I think, to build a lineup that you're going to need to take down the tournament while not avoiding, a player that you feel like is an absolute lock.
All right.
Yeah, because you actually could play Mike Williams and the running back that busted last week. You understand what I'm saying? And you playing with Jefferson. That's different. Your whole stack's gonna be different because nobody want to use that bastard after he busted in the lineups last week. But we knew he wasn't to play because we told you. And if you played him, shame on you. Because what we say, you do not play him against Tennessee.
Right. Herbert or Cousins? Swami, who are you starting?
Cousins, without question.
Willie?
I still like Cousins, but it's something in my spine that say when that bastard is chalk, I think I might get different by playing the 2 receivers or playing the receiver without Jefferson and get my quarterback elsewhere. And that will make my lineup different because I still don't like that chalk. Now, I think Herbert is a leverage play against Cousins in this game.
Okay. Right, because you're paying more. All right, let's talk about another game here. The Chiefs are going to put a ton of points on. Not a little, a ton. Mahomes and Kelsey, we know what they do. Easy peasy, we know how to play them. Pacheco is questionable. If he doesn't go, is McKinnon a man of interest? If Pacheco plays, is Pacheco a man of interest? Do we want to touch any of these receivers? Do we want to pay up for Mahomes and Kelsey, Swami? Or do we just say, let this game go, even though they are going to put 40 points on the board tomorrow?
Doc, rarely do I say what I'm about to say. That a team that I think is going to score at least 41 points is almost unplayable. They ain't going to beat these jokers 41-6 or 41-13, almost for sure. But we don't know if Edwards-Helaire is going to be back there. We don't know if Pacheco's going to limp out there. We don't know if it's going to be McKinnon. We don't know if Moore's going to show up. We don't know if it's just going to be the big fella doing it in the middle, Mr. Kelsey. And for that reason, Doc, I have very little interest in paying up for these guys. They got to show us a little bit more consistency on the offense. We know the points are going to be there. Where is it coming from? Through the first 2 weeks, it's been somebody different, even though Kelsey's been out. And this week, they can do just about anything they want to do, and we still don't know what they're going to do. Willie, I'll let you make the call.
Listen, I would have some interest in Pacheco, if he's healthy enough to play. But I don't like to play guacamole with my receivers. I don't like that. I don't know who I'm playing. I'm just like, listen, Mahomes is a spreader. He spreads the love. He said, "Oh, I'm gonna throw it to 7, 8 guys." Oh man, no, thank you. And it's not like they $3,000. Man, that's what I said. Listen, Mahomes he's a great player, but man, the way I can't play spreaders. Okay. I'm not playing spreaders.
All right, let's get to the game that Willie alluded to before, because there are some pieces in this game. The Atlanta-Detroit game, two teams that are not fast-paced, but they're efficient. They make the most with the least that they have. So I think it was Trevor Hillstrom, we know Trust and Trevor, sent me a text, and he says, just like Willie said, I think I like Ritter at 5K because I could do a lot with my lineup. You've got Bijan Robinson, who you know is going to be good. Kyle Pitts feels 400 months pregnant against a Detroit team that can't stop a tight end. And then you got Jahmyr Gibbs, you got St. Brown, you've got guys there. There's a lot of pieces, Swame. Are you in on this game in any way?
I'm not mad at this game at all. Now, let me tell you why. Because of the value that you can get with the stack, right? So I think that, both, Willie and Trevor are on to something there. But I don't know if this game is going to necessarily be low scoring, but I don't know if they're going to get it in the end zone. For some reason, every time I look, that doggone coup is coming on out to the field. He seemed like he out there so much. I thought he was starting at quarterback or something. God, no, cool boy, you out there every other play. So I'm not mad at him because I like the fact that, the good is that Ritter has had 10 carries last week. They doing those design kind of quarterback runs around the goal line. You always like seeing that in the red zone. Opportunity for him to be able to punch it in. They should be able to move the ball. We think it's going to be some back and forth, but are these drives going to end in the end zone, or are they looking at one of those weird scores where they got 18 points? It's 18-19 or something weird like that. If these teams can get the ball in the end zone, and I think they could, if they can score in the red zone, we could probably be looking at again some fantasy goodness. I like Drake London. I know you mentioned Pitts, Robinson. If he can, get it into the end zone, I think at his price, you don't like the fact that he's kind of sharing a load. Him and Algier, they almost in a split, right? With their carries. I think it was like last week, it was like 19-16 or 19-15. That's just too close for me as far as a split. You almost rather take the guy you think they might give it to on the goal line in a situation like that. But I definitely got a lot of interest in Ritter. I think between, the way you can kind of stack him with like a London and the Pitts and get some possible, big kind of game going with that type of stack, you got to like it. And then obviously coming back, you can pick a lot from the other side of the game.
All right, Willie, talk to me about this game. You said you liked it. What do you like about it? What pieces do you want to play?
Okay, I still don't feel good about that Pitts. He's the Pitts. I don't know what to say about him. But let me say this: the reason I like Ritter is I looked at Geno last game. Geno completed 78% of his passes against this team last week. And understand this, and they had 3 or 4 linemen that were hurt, injured. Okay, the thing that I like about this is I think that Atlanta will be behind, and Ritter threw the ball 38 times last week. Okay, what I like about it is he gives you that run. He can do that RPO thing, and then, if he throws for 2 touchdowns and run for a touchdown, you know what I mean. Going against this team, that makes your lineup look different. You can see. I like the lower end stacks in this game better than I do the high price guys. And what I mean by that is like this. So, say for instance, you could play Ritter and you could play London. You play Ritter in London. Then you bring it back with a Laporta, and you bring it back with. Now I'm gonna tell you who I don't like. Armand, I don't like because I think he got something going on with that toe. Because after he got injured last week, he only had one catch for 5 yards.
But do you really think Ritter, London, and Laporta is taking down a tournament, dude?
I'm gonna tell you,
down a tournament with that.
I'll tell you the reason why. See, that's a stack where you can get in and you could bring back a Jefferson. You could bring in a Tyreek Hill. You understand what I'm saying? When you got a low cost stack that if Laporta goes for 18 points, he gets a touchdown and gets 80 yards. Then you're talking about London gets gets like 22 points, and you got and then you got Ritter get you 20-something points. You'd be surprised what those larger pieces that you get your big 30-point, your 40-point guys in there, and that's how you take down tournaments, because it's what Swame preached before, getting a primary low-cost stack, and then your lineup is going to look different than those other lineups that's taking, because this dude, if you get a guy that could get you 25 points playing quarterback and he's 5,000, then you got 6,900, 7,600, what's name getting 25 points? You just gained 2,500 yards, plus you get access to a receiver that instead of just getting Jefferson, you may be able to get Tyreek Hill in there, or you could get some other high price guy that you're trying to get in there. So that's why I think I think he's a very interesting game. And if this games go off, I'm just saying that's what this is what we do. People not going to like it.
Do you feel the same way about C.J. Stroud? Do you feel the same way about Gardner Minshew? Could I do that with those guys?
I'm gonna tell you why not C.J. Stroud. They're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville got 2 of the top corners in the NFL. I mean, I got no interest in the passing games of that game.
Could I do this with Deshaun Watson at 61? Could I do what you're talking
about?
Deshaun
Watson is an interesting guy. Deshaun is in play.
So Watson and Cooper will allow me to do other things as well.
Right. He's in play. He stinks, but he's in play because he's going to get somebody. They are horrible against the pass.
Swami, let's get to Willie's idea here for a second. Jefferson and Hill, or Jefferson and Diggs. Does that make you immediately different than everybody else?
I think your stack will make you immediately different. And I think having what I would call that good chalk, it just gives you an opportunity to take down a tournament. So Willie's spot on there. But where I will disagree with Willie is that I do think Stroud, after the game that he put up, I talked about Mr. Stroud. I talked about that Ram stack, but I won't read the report card just yet. I got laughed off the stage, and then we saw what Poo did, and we saw what Nakua did, we saw what Kyron Williams did, but it's okay. We won't talk about that. But again, what I like about Detroit, these pieces again, because they show up on film, just like I told you guys about Josh Reynolds, you look at the film and you see what's going on. Numbers can lie. That's why I tell Walls all the time that stat, man, stats are great. But what stats don't tell you is that, hey, that receiver moves all over the field and the cornerback doesn't. But it still will say number 1 receiver versus number 1 corner. Oftentimes people get in trouble just having their heads down in the stats. You got to watch film, guys. And if you don't, then you got to watch Friday Night Lights. So when you pay down, it gives you, and you have a stack like that. Who else is going to have that stack, Doc? Hey, how many people you think going to take a chance on Andy Dalton or Gardner Minshew as a primary stack this week? Not many, because all of the big boys are going to be getting the love. And what happens if it pops? If he can hit Pittman for a couple of touchdowns, I'm just saying for an example, guys. Or if he can hit Drake London, Renner can hit Drake London. If Stroud can keep having this thing that he got going with all his receivers, that's why I think he's a player. While I agree with Willie, Miko Collins, Tank Dell, and old Robert Woods is getting involved. He almost went up the sideline last week.
So you would even argue that an Andy Dalton, Adam Thielen stack could be the super cheap that allows you to get everything else you wanted.
And that's how you get different. Because instead of you looking for 4 pieces to go off, Doc, I'm just looking for 1 stack. And guess what? 1 stack can go off.
The guy I'm interested in is not Thielen. Not Thielen. I think because Dalton can see over the lineman, I think Mingo is in play, and nobody's talking about Mr. Mingo. I think Mr. Mingo can get deep on. See, I just think that, and I do like Dalton this week too. I like Dalton this week, And I think Mingo's an interesting party to me that might have one of these type of games that he has not been able to do because his quarterback is young. He can't see nobody. He keep throwing the ball on the lineman's head, So now you got Andy Dalton, who's a veteran, who's getting in there. And you know you could pass on Seattle, and they're gonna do some things. So I just think everybody might be interested in Thielen. I'm not mad at Thielen, but I'm not playing him. The guy I will play will be Mingo.
All right, let me give you. I had a moment this morning where I said, if I play Dak, Pollard, and Lamb, I will get every touchdown associated with Dallas in a game that they're going to beat Arizona by at least 20. Can I just go with those three guys and then figure the rest of my lineup out, Willie?
No, listen. I've been looking at Dallas because I think with Diggs getting hurt, I think the Cardinals can hopefully keep a little pace with it. But even when they blew them out, Lamb had a monster game, and they were blowing him out, and they play him to the end. Pollard is a beast. Pollard's he gets all the touches. It wasn't like I thought it might be. Listen, I am not mad at Dak this week. I'm really not. I think Dak could throw for 3 or 4 touchdowns, and we don't know it. And a lot of people are not thinking about it because I think one thing I do like about Arizona, they're scrappy. We always talk about scrappy. You don't see it, but this Josh Dobbs or you look at it. They gave the Giants. I mean, the Giants stink. Okay, let's just admit it. They stink. But they gave the Commanders all they want to handle. They hung in there with the Giants, and I just think that Dak. Listen. For some reason, they are playing their guys a lot. I mean, Lamb is in there for all the plays. I love. He's one of my favorite running backs on the slate.
Pollard.
I love him. I love Pollard in this game.
So Swame, can I go with a Dak, Pollard, Lamb stack and work around that? Will that give me leverage on the competition?
I think it's not a bad play, but let me tell you what I don't like. I don't like the fact that you immediately won't have the guys that we know can go nuts. And I'm talking namely, it takes you to trying to just get in, a value piece of, say, the Minnesota game. It takes you away from, Tyreek Hill. It takes you away from playing Mr. Robinson. Anybody who can have a ceiling game, you likely won't be able to get too many of them pieces because if you tried, you'd be playing me and Willie at your flex. So at some point, because of the cost of those three, it makes it really difficult to pay that kind of money on a primary stack. Now you're trying to squeeze in 4 Tank Dells, right? And you can always hit on 1 Tank Dell, but trying to hit on 4, I think, becomes a much different, from a probability perspective.
It's funny. I'm trying to do a team, just like you mentioned, and I think, and that's where I'm. So if I'm going in with all the guys, right? I'm going in with all the guys. I have Dak, I have Pollard, I have Kelly, I have Jefferson, I have Lamb, and then I have Ertz as my tight end. I'll bring him back with Ertz. I have to go with the Commanders defense, and then I've got to have 2 receivers in that $3,500 range that I have to hit right.
But see, you could. So what I would do is you could do like what we used to do with golf, and who was the running back that used to be the man a few years back? The running back for the Rams. Remember how we used to play golf and the running back, and then you get all the passing points,
right,
and all the running points. I forgot the running back for the Rams that was before he got hurt, 3 years ago. But what was the running back for the Rams?
I don't know, dude. I don't know what I had for breakfast this morning.
About the number 1 pick out of Georgia?
Yeah. Todd
Gurley?
Yeah. Gurley. Remember how we used to play Gurley in golf?
Right. Get all the points.
And get all the points from there. So I don't mind a Dak and a Pollard, type of
well, that's what I'm saying. But if I do that, Swame's right. I can get that lineup in. I can get Jefferson in. I can get Kelly in. But I've got to find me 2 receivers Look, we found them last week. I thought in this show we had Reynolds, we had Tank Dell, we had Gabe Davis. We do a good job of that. But you've got to now find two guys to do that. So I see where you're going with that. So you're saying if you do Dak and Pollard without Lamb, you're getting a lot of the Dallas touchdowns there as well.
Oh, you're getting all of it. But see, yeah, because but you also can do that with a guy that gets a lot of looks as a Ferguson. You know, you got a Ferguson that is very inexpensive. That that is one of the favorites, and there's multiple times he could have had 2 touchdowns with Dak, but Dak missed them. So there's ways to do it, but what I'm saying is I would do that lineup like in 1 and 20 lineups. You understand what I'm saying? It would be my core, because I think because Swame likes Aguilar. I say in 1 or 20 lineups. My other stuff will be with the guys that we talked about. But I would do that one time. One lineup.
Like Aguilar when he's your one chance you're taking, not when he's 1 of 3.
Right, not Mingo and Aguilar.
Right. No, one of these.
All right, I want to talk about 2 more games. First, I want to talk. Let's go back to that Cleveland game. You got Cooper, you got Elijah Moore, you got Jerome Ford, who is very cheap. I know you can't run against them, but see, Josh Kelly's not a receiver. Ford can catch. So Ford might actually get 3x because if Deshaun throws to him 4 times, he could easily go 4 for 40 and run for 20 yards, and you got yourself 10 points. Swami, do we like the Browns? Do we like anybody on Tennessee? What's your thoughts on this game?
I like the Browns a lot. I like Watson. I like Cooper. With that price on Ford, it's not like you're taking a huge risk with him. And again, look at the price you coming in with that stack with, and they have the kind of upside that can take down the tournament as well. Especially because we've seen these players do it before, with the exception of Ford. We know that Watson can break out, and they're going to have to throw the ball a lot more. We know that Cooper should be able to run wild through the Titan secondary. So at this point, it's saying if anybody else, Njoku, if Moore, if anybody else can kind of, you can see them being involved from a game theory perspective, then you definitely got one of those stacks that I'm saying will give you that ownership and that leverage that you're looking for. And then the coming back is where I think it gets interesting. I'm not interested in playing King Henry. I'm sorry, King Henry, but the Cleveland defense is formidable. I'm not sure if my guy D-Hop is healthy. I talked to him. He said he's good, but I don't know. So that leaves us down to like a Kongwu and maybe like a Brown.
I think there's no bring back in this game.
So I'm just not in love with any of that side of it, which means that I will probably just want to take, a piece or two or from the Cleveland side, and then that's it. So, and I like Cooper a lot, and you can talk me into Ford from ownership. But Watson Cooper, I think that's a nice combo this week.
Willie, are you in on this game?
I will play Watson and Cooper, and I will play a little Ford too because he's a baller. So at 4,800, he could catch seven balls for 50 or 60 yards, and then if he happens to get in a touchdown, right. Then you're cooking with oil. But I can't. Tennessee's a fade for me. They're a fade for me. I can't play nobody on Tennessee.
All right, let me talk about one more game here, and then we can get to our stacks and stuff like that. The Miami Dolphins. All right, now I'm going to assume, for argument's sake, that Jalen Waddle is not going to play. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I'm going to say no. You still have Tua. You got Tyreek, who's still there. You got Durham Smythe, who may be a very cheap tight end. Raheem Mostert has played out of his mind. A chain, they said, is going to be the number 2 back. Braxton Berrios is still there. On the other side, we've got pieces. We got Judy, we got Javonte. This game may be the game we're overlooking, with the one exception that this is a Vic Fangio revenge narrative going on against his old Bronco team. Swami, can you get behind this game at all? Do you think this game explodes a little bit more than where people are thinking?
I can get behind this game. This game has got sneaky written all over. This is a real sneaky game. It's sneaky for a lot of reasons. You say that the Broncos had trouble last week stopping the run, and you see that Mostert kind of got it going last week. One of Willie's guys, he had I think a huge game against the Patriots, and so you figure if they're able to run the ball, I think they want to run the ball, especially if Waddle isn't there. You figure that Tyreek Hill will likely get a little bit more attention, and it may open it up for him. So between Barrios or that Craig Kraft, one of them probably pick up a few more targets this game. Smythe is kind of hard for me. He's
out there a lot. He's out there a lot.
Yes, but his 3 targets. Like, he's probably not getting more than 3 looks for some reason. I think Tua looks downfield. Then when he's looking to check it down, he's probably just not looking at him first. I don't know, but on the Denver side, now I feel like it's one of those where they have too many pieces. They got a couple of their younger players involved last week. You're talking about Judy back this week. I even think, Williams could be involved this week. So you just it's trying to figure out what pieces make the most sense. And it might just be both running backs in this game that make the most sense for me right now.
Willie, you like this game at all?
Yeah, I mean, all right. So what people don't realize, the Broncos have reached the end zone in 9 of 17 possessions, the end zone or in the red zone. 9 out of 17 possessions. Miami has reached the red zone 10 of 22. They're fourth. The Broncos are number 1. Defensively, the Broncos are the 30th in the league and allowing the same stat, 8 of 18 possessions. So let me tell you something. If Waddle does not play, which is a chance. I heard he was dancing and all that, but it's the coach's final decision. If Waddle doesn't play, Tyreek Hill in 95 routes. What is this stat? It's 95 routes. He's been targeted without Waddle 43% of the time. I'm not lying. That's why I'm interested in that goddamn other stat. 43%. Man, if you let Tyreek go against this ass milk, Denver defense, I don't know if it was curtains or turtons. I mean, they get 8 up. They will. The one thing I love about the coach, he moves guys around where he's going to put them in position to be that. And I would love Barrios.
I love Barrios.
I think Barrios has that little upside. He has the run after the catch type of thing. So if you take Tariq, Tua, and Barrios, you run it back with Judy, or you run it back with the running back for Denver. I mean, you got something different, and a lot of people are not talking about this game, but this game right here, because this is what the Dolphins do. The Dolphins lead the NFL in offensive plays of 15 or more. They got 25, 20 or more yards. They got 12, and 30 or more. They got 6. Dolphins are a big play team. Forget what happened the other week when they played Belichick. Okay, Belichick was not going to let them beat them. With Tyreek Hill. That's a whole different scenario.
And Tyreek Hill still scored a touchdown.
Yeah, he still scored a touchdown. But what I'm saying, Belichick, that's why Moser went nuts. That's why he went nuts, because he let him run. He said, "No, you're not beating them." They don't have that same capacity, Denver. And I think Russell can keep the game closer, because I think they can score on Miami too. So I think it's the dynamic where this game might shoot out. And I just think, everybody's thinking about the Minnesota game, but I would like to have pieces of this game and the Minnesota game to be different.
All right, Swami, one stack, $100. Where are you going, my man?
Doc, before you guys laugh me off the screen, I just want to remind you all that I'm a riverboat gambler. And I'm telling you this week, for some reason, the stack that's interests me the most, even though Walls kind of didn't like a piece of it, I think because the obvious one, let me get my obvious one out now, because Willie, you got so many. The obvious one is Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, and like Addison, and you come back with Keenan. I think that's obvious. I don't need to be Captain Obvious here. We going deep sleeper on the Swame side of this coin, and I think I want to go with the Atlanta-Detroit game, and I think I want to take Ritter, and I want to take at least London. I'm somewhat on the fence on if I want to run him back or Pitts in that other spot because I don't like Pitts targets. So I might just pick London and Ritter and bring it back with St. Brown. I think his injury, that like Wall said, I think a lot of people are going to kind of stay away from him because he's got this kind of this little nagging injury that's going on now. And I think he could be a good leverage play this week for that reason.
All right, Willie Walls, $100. Where are you going?
Man, that bastard, man, took who I got him. So I'm gonna have it different. And he wasn't even talking about that damn Ritter before I even mentioned that bastard. Yeah, bastard. Anyway, I like Ritter too. I'm serious. I'm serious when I say that. Because I'm gonna be different because I'm gonna get some of the big boys in there. I like Ritter, but I like Ritter, in London. But the difference is I want to bring it back with Laporta and Josh Reynolds. Because I think Josh Reynolds, yeah, you keep saying that. But Josh
I literally see money lit on fire in these discussions. I'm seeing money on fire.
Okay.
You're not winning with Ritter, London, and Laporta. You're not winning.
Doc, you wouldn't have thought we would have won with CJ Stroud, Miko Collins, and Tank Dell. You wouldn't have thought we would have. I'm just saying, Doc, these things don't seem probable.
If you want to tell me Deshaun Watson and Cooper, I can find love. You want to tell me Tyreek, I can find love.
Hey, listen. See, but
Ritter in London, I tell you,
without, I'm telling you, he gets more usage. Reynolds gets more usage without Montgomery. Without Montgomery,
I like Reynolds. I'm okay with Reynolds, but I'm just saying, like Desmond Ritter, if they are winning this game, see, you guys are looking at last week when they were behind and they had a score to come back. But when they're ahead, they are going to sit on that ball.
Yeah, but I think Detroit playing at home?
Yes.
I think Detroit's going to be ahead in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game.
For sure, they're going to be ahead in this game.
So
then if that's the case, then you're hoping that Ritter gets you the 20-point week he got you last week.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
Fair?
It's one. See, what I'm Doc. We said we know what the obvious is. We could go. I mean, if you put a damn gun in my head, I mean, that's a whole different story, sir. You put a gun and $100, that's a whole different. If you put a gun in my head, Cousin Jefferson, running back with Keenan and Mike Williams. Okay, that's what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying? But if you say $100, Doc, what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the tournament down. So that's what I'm saying.
I'd rather take it down with Watson, Ford, and Cooper.
But there you go again. I mean, I get
it. Chalky?
But Watson's been worse.
I like that.
But Watson been worse than Ritter. You understand what I'm saying? We can't go by that. But or let me say another one. Or I could give me Mingo. You give me Mingo. Give me
Andy Dalton.
What's the quarterback? That's
Andy
Dalton, and running back with Walker. Walker for Seattle.
I love Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
Love Kenneth Walker. All right, Swami. Who is your Swami says pick of the week?
Now, Doc, I'm not going to change it right now because I've already kind of committed to it. I am a little bit concerned with the tropical storm that's heading through Baltimore, but right now, again, with a few players being out in Baltimore this week, I'm going back with my guy, Nelson Aguilar. I like what him and Jackson had going on last week. I know sometimes when I'm digging with these deep sleepers, everybody's not with me, but I'm trying to find guys that you're not thinking about already. I could easily cop out fans, folks out there in TV podcasts. Like I could just take, that chalky play that you already thinking about. But that's not what the Swami does, baby. Deep sleepers over here in Swami land. You're welcome.
All right. Willie Walls. Balls to the Walls call from Willie Walls.
Mingo! Mr. Mingo finally got a quarterback that will throw him the deep ball, that will get him the ball in places that he couldn't even, because the other quarterback could not see him throwing his 32% completion ass. And now you got a quarterback who could quarterback that ball. I think Mr. Mingo is going to give you 120 yards in a tutty.
Wow.
120 yards in a tutty.
I'm taking the pen on that one. Mingo.
He like career games, dog.
Mingo. I put it down there.
Hey,
Mingo.
Going,
Hey,
you saw what what's name did compared to Mr. Diggs last week. You know what?
All right, I'm going to give you my two. One, if Jalen Waddle is out, I promise you Braxton Berrios will be in every one of my lineups. Every one.
Yeah, I like Braxton. Yeah.
Second, Josh Downs. Josh Downs is the slot guy. They're not going to be able to run deep routes in a sloppy track, right? This is going to be 5 yards and turn to the right. That's Josh Downs' territory. Gardner Minshew goes to him at least 6 times, 6 for 60 in this game. If he finds the end zone, it's like Tank Dell. I got myself 18 points. Boom.
I like it, Doc.
All right, guys. I wish you guys most luck. I wish everybody out there luck. But hopefully somebody that watches this will win $1 million. All right? All right, for Doc, Swame, and Willie, we tell you what. We tell you to be well and
take care.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.